So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today and spending the next hour with us as we chat with Janice Phillips from Caisse Populaire Kahnawake. So our discussion will be the history of Caisse Populaire, their mission, and cultural contexts that have shaped their establishment. Also go over how it arose to meet the specific financial needs of the community. I'm Trista Piwapiskunias. I'm the Director of Indigenous Relations for Co-operatives First. I am right now sitting in Saskatoon in this Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. Co-operatives First, for anybody who is new to the organization, is a nonprofit business development organization created to bring awareness and also support new cooperative development within Western Canada. So today I'm really excited to have Janice here. And I would like to go over a brief introduction. So Janice is a member of the Mohawk community of Kahnawake, Quebec, and is one of the 12 founding members of the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake, which opened as a cooperative credit union in 1987. She served as a trustee for the Caisse during its first year of operations. And in 1988, Janice began her career with the branch, which has spanned over 30 years. From 1995 onward, she worked as a personal financial advisor, serving her community in this role until her retirement in May 2019. Janice returned to work in April 2023 in the same capacity and took on the responsibility of training other employees for the position. Her work within the community has brought her immense pride and satisfaction, as she has played a vital role in helping individuals achieve their dreams of home ownership, purchasing vehicles, and developing investment strategies. So this work has confirmed her for the success of the cooperative. So thank you very much, Janice.
You're welcome.
So Janice, do you want to provide an overview of the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake?
Yes, I can give you our bit of the history of how it came to be in our community. So up until 1987, the community operated without its own financial institution. There were certainly demands for savings and loan services from consumer, international, and commercial institutional and commercial users. To some extent, those needs were being met by banks in surrounding municipalities. We needed a source of financing and were tired of depending on government programs and ill-equipped outside financial institutions to meet our needs. It was decided by the Economic Development Program of the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake in 1984 to investigate the possibility of starting up some form of financial institution in Kahnawake. It was also decided to find a solution to the problem of taking security as immovable. So I did sit on the Economic Development Committee during that time frame, and we did our research in different financial institutions. So we wanted our financial institution to operate as closely as possible to those on the outside, even though the federal legislation governing our lands placed severe restrictions on this goal. A project was established late in 1984 and, amongst other things, conducted a market study of the financial service needs of Kahnawake, looking at existing forms of financial institutions, investigated the unique legal problems which could affect the operation of the financial institution, and finally arrived at a recommendation for the type of financial institution and a plan of implementation. So with the support of the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake, which is our governing body, the Caisse Populaire Desjardins Kahnawake is the result of a process of search and selection of the financial platform that corresponded more with Aboriginal values of the Mohawks of this community. The movement then at that time showed an immediate interest in the establishment of a case and spared no effort with the implementation of the project. The movement Desjardins knew the issues and risks associated with cases in these markets, including the seizure of personal property and collective rights of the First Nations situated on Indian reserves. To this end, Desjardins has studied and expressed reservations about the ways and mechanisms to be implemented up to the acceptance of a new model, the trust agreement, which is a unique document form of guarantee, and it's unique to only our case, and it is the only one used across Canada. So the case opened its doors for business in October of 1987, which provided savings and loan services, and eventually, due to the use of the trust agreement guarantee, was able to finance mortgages personally and for businesses. And we've been extremely, extremely successful. So the business community were the ones that were really pushing for having our own financial institute in our community, because, as stated earlier, we had to use banking institutes outside of our community. And so at the time, any interest income whatsoever was subject to taxation. So by having our own financial institute on reserve, certain types of savings products are subject to non-taxes. The interest income earned is subject to non-taxes. Also, I'd like to mention that Desjardins, overall, compared to chartered banks such as the Royal Bank, CIBC, Toronto Dominion, or any other type of banking institute, did not allow us the autonomy to develop the trust agreement. They did not also give us the autonomy to have our own community members sit on our board of directors, which are a governing board. And Desjardins, because it's a cooperative geared towards communities, gave us that autonomy. So that's why we chose Desjardins over any other chartered bank.
Thank you for that overview, Janice. So as a credit union, how do you involve community members in some of the decision-making processes of the credit union?
Because it is a cooperative, the members of the Caisse Populaire, we have an annual general meeting held every year. It's in the month of April. All the members are invited to come and to hear just how well the case has done over the past year. And that's where we go over them voting on the distribution of our member dividends. They vote on the annual surplus earnings that the case has made. They can vote for the board of directors, who must be from our community. And they can also become a board member or a trustee. So that's how our members are involved.
So since it's been around, since 1987, just out of curiosity, what is the engagement? Like, do a lot of members come out for the AGM?
Yes, to date we have over 6,000 members. We also have $776 million in assets. every year, we give dividends back to our members based on the services and products that they use. So based on the volume, each individual is given back a dividend, and this year we have 627,000 that's going to be distributed to those members.
Yeah, that's amazing. So as a credit union on Kahnawake, and that it is a community-based and credit union. So what types of financial products and services do you offer and that are tailored to meet the unique needs of community members?
Okay, so the products and services that we offer are basically the same products as most banking institutes. So we have every type of product in savings. We have term deposit investments. We also have mutual funds. As being a personal financial advisor, you were required to obtain a mutual fund license in order to sell those products. There are many different products. We have we do loans, lines of credits, business, commercial, as well as personal. And this is where our trust agreement came into play, which is unique to our community and is only used in our community. So a trust agreement was planned and took many much discussion. We had to have lawyers involved because we are situated on a native reserve. A banking institute cannot own our property. So off reserve, if you get a mortgage of any type, the bank owns your property. So here, that's not the case. So the trust agreement was developed where there is 3 trustees who are native from our community that you would sign your land and your home over to them in trust for the duration of the mortgage. And when the mortgage was paid in full, then the trust agreements would transfer the land and house back to your name. So it's very unique. So that really is one of the best things that Desjardins gave us the autonomy and allowed us to develop. Because, like as I stated, no chartered bank would allow that.
Thank you. So from starting as one of the founders, and I'm sure you've seen many challenges, but can you highlight what was one of the biggest challenges that your credit union has faced, and have you overcome them?
Okay, so that was the number one challenge, was to be able to how are we going to be able to give mortgages within our territory. So that was the biggest, which we overcame. Although, we were worried about the possibility of having legal challenges, and through the history of the Caisse Populaire, we did have a couple of legal challenges from individuals, but both were settled out of court. So they were resolved, and there was only 2 in the whole history of our existence, which is fantastic. The other challenge that we have, which is a quite big, but we've also learned to solve that issue as well, is in our community, many individuals have cash payment for salaries due to the fact that on reserve we have our gas stations, dépanneurs, we have restaurants, golf courses, small businesses, and the tobacco trade. And for most of these types of businesses, they pay people in cash. So how are we going to get around that? What do you have to provide proof that this is valid? And so, that's the number one criteria for an approval of a loan is that proof of income. So as long as individuals, and with that challenge is within our community, we basically know everyone in a sense. We know if we know one person, they know the other person. So basically everyone seems to know who you are. So with that, we know the businesses. So to confirm salaries, letters of employment with letterhead, having the stability of the individual depositing their cash weekly or bi-weekly as they're paid consistently every pay period, so that we have and we can follow their deposits to ensure that their letters of employment coincide with the deposits being made. And then the other thing is also the privacy, confidentiality, due to the fact that we basically know everyone. People were a little bit hesitant in the beginning because, let's face it, privacy number one is income. Everybody's income is very private, but now, I, for one, would know your income. And so the thing is that came as time went on, people became more confident and comfortable, and they were able to get the services that they needed. So those were several of the things that we had to overcome. Another thing that we do here as well is we settle estates. So with that, if individuals have no wills, what's the repercussion? What's the timeline? What's the process? So we help our members with that as well. And, settling estates, people are grieving. Sometimes it's hard to grasp the information. So, patience, we have to have patience and meet with them several times if need be. And so, but we get the job done. Those are our biggest challenges, I would say.
Yeah. And you have years of working those out and overcoming some of those challenges. It's just I wanted to highlight, I really appreciate what you were saying, is that being a community and everybody knowing each other and having that sense of trust, I just don't see that in many financial institutions anymore. So that's like really great insight. So
Thank you.
Thanks. So the last of my prepared questions that I have is, are there any collaborations with other organizations or credit unions that have been particularly beneficial, and kind of what were they? So I do know that you are part of Desjardins, but how has that relationship really benefited the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake?
Well, I could say that one of the collaborations we have is with our local schools. We have several schools and a high school on our reserve, and so we have school case accounts. So we do get involved with the schools and go to the schools. We also go into the high school and we sort of do some education on, banking, just general banking and how to get started with credit. And so that's one area. Another one is that we are involved with, we do have a hospital on reserve. So with our hospital and our Kahnawake Community Services. We do help with elder abuse, fraud, communicating with them. We do have workshops within those organizations. We also work with our community services for special needs and help with the process of setting up tutorship and curatorship accounts if necessary. So we collaborate with them on that. And then we also partner up with our local government, the Mohawk Council, where we have another type of guarantee for our mortgages. So I spoke earlier about our trust agreement, and now this one is called the Mohawk Council on Reserve Housing Guarantee. So once an individual has met the criteria for a mortgage, we have to forward the documentation to the Mohawk Council, and it goes through their loan review committee, and they review the documents, and they either approve to guarantee the Caisse Populaire, the mortgage. So the on reserve housing guarantee program is similar to off reserve CMHC insurance, where you can have a minimum of 5% down payment. So that, a lot of people can meet that. And then the trust agreement guarantee, you need a minimum of 20% down payment, which is equivalent to a conventional mortgage off reserve. So these are the areas that we do in our community and work with our local government as well.
Those are amazing examples. It really shows how the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake is very reactive to what's going on in the community. So that's amazing to see.
It is, and I'd just like to add, we are currently in the construction phase. It's been underway for a few years. We're looking to have our own cultural center built. And so finally, after the committee securing funds for that, the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake has donated $250,000 towards the construction of the cultural center. And Desert Net itself has a fund called the Good Spark Fund, and it's a flagship initiative to jumpstart development and social economic recovery. So they have donated $500,000 to our cultural center. So besides that, we also have annually, we give scholarships in different areas to our education. We have university, we have college, we have, sorry, my mind just went blank. Vocational. So we give scholarships every year. And we also set aside from our surplus earnings annually, we set aside $50,000 that we give out in donations in different areas of the community. So for donations for that, people do put in their their request. They submit to and what their project is, and then we have a committee that goes through all of those and decides how we're going to distribute and who's going to receive those donations this year. Every year we have been giving approximately $10,000 to our powwow committee. I'm not sure if you're aware of the crisis we had in the early 90s. It's called the OPA crisis, and our community was shut down for 3 months. And so from that, a powwow has been set up every year since then. So it's just growing and growing every year as well.
Thank you for sharing that, Janice. And yeah, like thank you for answering all the questions. At this point, I am opening it up from questions from the audience. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat, and Janice would be happy to answer.
Yes.
I've got one.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Janice. That was awesome. I teach this in my Indigenous business course, so I'm hoping you might consider zooming in the winter term. But one thing I'm wondering is, do you ever have folks in the community looking to form business partnerships with external organizations? And if you do, what are the funding issues involved, or how do you handle that?
Okay, so if they're going to go in with business partnership, I'm really not familiar with the process of that, because I personally never dealt with the commercial or business sector in our organization. We do have a commercial advisor, and so I'm sorry, I really can't answer that.
No worries. I just had to ask. Thank you, though.
You're welcome.
Janice, we have a question from Mark Andre.
Thanks,
Okay.
Tristan. Thanks, Tristan. And thank you, Janice. It's super interesting. I love it. I'm wondering, in the banking world, regulators can often get in the way of some of that relational trust that you leverage so well. Have you had any challenges with the regulator with your credit union and its practices? How does that look from your end?
We may have had some the regulators, because throughout the entirety since we opened our doors, of course, we have all our credit practices and so on and so forth are all in line with Desjardins credit policies and what have you. But I know we did have some challenges, but I personally are not aware of the details, because that was our management that had to deal with those sort of things. So they had to deal with the Desjardins plus our local government as well. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
It does. Yes. Thank you. Can I have a quick follow-up, Trista, if that's okay?
Yes.
Okay. Has anyone ever approached you and your Desjardins case to look at expanding like your model to other nations and other places? Like, I'm just curious. It sounds like such a great model. It'd be nice to see it taken up elsewhere.
Thank you. Yes, I believe so. I believe it is a great model. And I do believe that our former manager, I think Trista knows him, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong. He was on the Economic Development Committee and working towards this, getting this project done. I sat on that committee with him. His name is Michael Wright. He was our first manager here in the branch. And I know that, since he retired from here, he has been on other committees on a national level. And I know that he was working with, forgive me, I don't remember the exact title, but he's working with for housing across Canada, one of the organizations. And I know that he's talked about this subject to many different I would say different nations. But I don't know I don't know the details to all of that.
Thanks. Thanks for the question, Mark, Andre, and Janice, for your answer. You just I just wanted to let everybody know, yeah, like Michael Rice was been really great with giving us some of his time. So we do have a podcast recording interview with Michael Rice. So if you would like that as well, but I could send that along and you could hear from Michael. Melanie Allard has a question. So
Yes, thank you so much, Janice. This is amazing, and you've come so far and expanded so much. It just seems so incredible. A lot of really great information. I'm curious about your trust agreement and how you came together to make that agreement. Can you share a little more on it?
I can. Let me. I do have a document here that if you don't mind, I could read it to you on how it works. If that would be okay.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, so here I go. The founding of the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake and the use of the trust agreement model was signed by the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake Chief and Council and founding members on February 3rd, 1987, and the Federation de Caisse Populaire Desjardins de Québec de l'Ouest du Québec. The startup and establishment of the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake had an immediate impact in terms of creating a source of funds to intermediate in the community for commercial and consumer purposes. That in itself can be viewed as a major accomplishment in improving the economic development situation in Kahnawake. An equally important step has been the establishment and implementation of the trust deed arrangement loan security system. Our goal was to allow our people, Kanien'kehá:ka, to give their immovables, land and buildings, as security on loans for commercial and eventually housing purposes. And under this system, it is possible. To give a perspective on the need for this system, it is necessary to refer to the legislation governing lands and land holding system on Indian reserves, that is the Indian Act. The Act is very clear as to the limitations put on the ability to take security. Section 89 prohibits all charges, pledging, mortgaging, or otherwise giving immovable property as security to a non-Indian, which includes the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake, an incorporated entity, and therefore non-Indian by an Indian. The restriction only applies to a non-Indian. Security and consequently seizure can validly be given to another Indian. There are exceptions to these regulations whereby the minister could guarantee both commercial and residential loans. So how does the trust agreement work? A borrower cannot give the building and the land on which it sits directly to the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake. The borrower enters into a trust agreement with the trustees and transfers his or her invisible property in trust to them. The trust agreement would specify that should the borrower default to the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake, the trustees would be authorized and bound to satisfy the borrower's debt by using the latter's property. The Caisse Populaire also enters into a trust contract with the trustees who agree to participate in this system to facilitate the lending of monies for the purpose of the social and economic development of Kahnawake. The Caisse Populaire Kahnawake is the beneficiary of this trust contract. In terms of procedures, the Minister of Indian Affairs, and specifically the Registrar of Indian Lands, requires the registration of the loan contract, trust agreement, and Section 24 transfer from the borrower to 3 trustees in trust for each transaction and one-time registration of the trust contract. In terms of features of the system, the major one is the nature of the third-party guarantor or trustee. The principle of a third-party guarantor certainly is not new. What is new with the Kahnawake model is that the third party is not a government body of any kind, federal, provincial, or band council. When it is decided to use the trust agreement in Kahnawake for securing residential or commercial loans, it was important to put the onus on the individual borrower to make them feel that they had something to lose. The market study done in our community in 1984 had proven that our people were ready to accept the trust deed arrangement. The trustees themselves are individual natives from Kahnawake who have volunteered in the interest of the economic development of Kahnawake to serve as trustees. The individuals do not include any chiefs or politically active persons and are regarded as pillars of the community. At the same time, they are not drawn from the officers or staff of the Caisse Populaire and thus can truly maintain a sense of objectivity. According to the trustee contract, they are required to verify if there is indeed a default on the loan if requested by the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake to act on a file. A second important feature of the trust agreement is the speed between loan approval and the disbursement compared to the issuance of a ministerial guarantee. The Minister of Indian Affairs implication in the transaction is to register the land transfer in trust. Another feature of the system is that the land can be resold only to another Indian from within the reserve. Finally, an individual native must have lawful possession of the land allotment to effectively use the trust agreement. So that's how it was developed, and it's worked, and it worked, and our default and our losses on loans is so minimal over the years, very minimal.
Thank you so much for sharing. That seems like a great, like a long process, but you guys kind of went through piece by piece by piece and covered a lot of bases. So thank you for reading that up.
It took many years because, as I stated earlier, we started working to study the Financial Institute from 1984, and then we opened in October of 1987. So it was a long haul, but it proved to be like very, very successful. Our community has prospered. We do millions of dollars in mortgages every year. Even with the rising costs and prices, otherwise loans were given through our band council, but they only gave so many mortgage loans per year. So, and you can't get a mortgage from a banking institute off reserve. So, it certainly served our community well.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. If anyone's interested, you can go on our website because our annual report is on our website of 2024, and you can also see Desjardins Cooperative as globally. You could see their numbers as well, and Desjardins is the largest cooperative in Canada, very successful. So anyone can go online and see those numbers.
Thanks for the resources, Janice. So one question that I have for you is, if a community or organization or a group of people are looking into kind of doing their own financial institution or organization, was there anything from you being on the committee in the early days that really surprised you about starting your own financial institution within your own community?
Well, what surprised me mostly, I would say, is because of the language. We do live in Quebec. Quebec wants French only. Being a native on a reserve in the province of Quebec, our community, for whatever reason, I would attribute it to history, is that we really, really put a wall up when it comes to learning the French language. And so when it was established that we would be going with Desjardins, which was created by a French individual in Lévis, Quebec, and it's basically French language. That's one of our struggles because of our programming and everything for our computer system and whatnot. So that was one of the things that was surprising to me and other people. But when you look at Desjardins as a cooperative, it aligns in our culture. The way we share, the way we do things together, the way we work as a community, and we're here for the community. So it beat out a chartered bank whatsoever. So that was some of my education as well when we were working on it. It's like, hey, but we did have a lot of individuals in our community that was not really happy about it at first. Like, why did you choose a French bank, But as time went on, we educated our community as well. So they would not be getting dividends if we had a chartered bank. They would not be getting those donations. They would not be able to be on our board. We would not even be able to have our own native board if we were a chartered bank. So there's so much that Desjardins was in line with our culture. And so people, they embraced it afterwards. So that was something that I also, as you asked, is what surprised me.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions? Okay, Danielle has a question, Janice.
Hey.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Janice. I am wondering how many staff you currently have and how many of those staff members are from the community.
I believe let me just backtrack a bit, just a little bit before I answer that. I came to work at the Caisse Populaire 5 days before its first anniversary in 1988. I worked through every position here except management. And so I retired in May of 2019. And then in 2023, April of 2023, my former supervisor called me because when I retired, my assistant replaced my position as the advisor. And so at the time, she had lost very close family members within a short period of time, so she was on a leave of absence from work. And then we had two personal advisors that did mortgages and savings and loans for personal. And so the other advisor at the time gave them a 2-week notice that she was leaving. So they had no one to do mortgages here. We could not get a replacement from our federation because, as I explained about how the mortgages are with our documentation, they don't know that paperwork. They don't know how it is. So they couldn't get anybody. So my former supervisor called me and asked me a big favor if I would consider coming to work. And so I didn't think twice as being a founding member. And I love my job and I know the job well. So I came back to work, and then they replaced the person that the other advisor, and so I trained her and did the work at the same time, and so I'm still here 2 years later. So it's 2 years, and so next month I'd be retired for 6 years, but I've been back to work for two years. So with the number of staff, I would say we're about maybe 32 staff. And we have, I believe, there may be 3 non-native working with us.
Amazing. So if anybody has any questions, we have a time for one more question before we let everybody go for the day. Is there any final questions?
I just maybe ask a follow-up question to that, to Janice, if
Yeah.
no one else has any other questions. Do you see community members maybe picking careers in banking and finance as a result of your credit union?
Yes, we do see people going into the financial field because they have received some of our scholarships, we know. And in our community, a lot of young people do enter university these days more than in the past, I'd say. And yes, we do get individuals asking about, they just want to know if it's possible to work here and what they need to do to get here. And so, but we also do in-house training. So, if you come in at the lower level, you always have the opportunity of learning and moving up the ladder. That's exactly how I came in. I came in as a part-time on-call teller, worked my way through the ranks, but I was very fortunate because when I came to work, the organization was in its very early stage of growth. And so it grew quickly. So there was a need for more positions. There was a need for more clerks, assistants, and advisors for loans, all types of loans, lines of credit, and mortgages. So I was able to move up the ladder pretty quickly.
That's amazing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just wanted to say that that's amazing that there's so much interest in people wanting to and being inspired to work for even within their own community within such a great organization.
Yes, it is a great organization, and I'm going to share something with you, which I'm very proud of. I was a young mom. I worked from a young age, but I don't even have a high school education, and I was able to achieve what I have in my life. It's not easy today to get a job without a high school diploma, but I was able to work here for 31 years. I did have to take courses along the way. I did achieve a deck, but I do not have a high school diploma.
That is amazing for the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake to be so supportive of community members, and that, like, congratulations on the 31 years of working there.
Thank you.
They're really lucky to have you.
Thank you so much. Well, Michael Rice, who was the manager, he knew me from our Economic Development Committee days, and he knew my potential, and he gave me that break in hiring me, and then I just excelled, and I just love doing this type of work.
Yeah, Michael is an amazing person, and he spoke very highly of you. So, and really wish for you to be on this webinar with us and here today. So, like, I thank you both.
Well, you're very welcome.
So I think we are going to leave it there. I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. A great big thank you to Janice for sharing your story and giving us an overview of the Caisse Populaire Kahnawake.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it, and I would hope that other nations will be able to have a successful financial institute within their own community as well.
Yeah, that would be amazing to see the it replicated across the country. So and in many communities.
Yes.
So okay. So thanks once again. This, as I mentioned, the session's being recorded and the recording will be available. But if you want to check out some of our previous webinars, interviews, podcasts, please go to cooperativesfirst.com or yourwaytogether.ca to see any of our previous recordings. So thank you once again for joining us, and I will see you soon, and muestas.
Yeah, well, have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trista, take care. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you.